What's going on YouTube? Welcome back to another Fantasy Football Scout video with me, Lee, and this is Sam from FPL Family. Now here, Sam, is a novel thought for you. A game week with 10 games. Not 8, not 12, not 14. 10 straight games where every team plays. Novel, right? It'll never catch on, by the way.
Still a Friday deadline, though.
Still a Friday deadline. When is the Friday deadline?
8 o'clock kickoff, so be 6:30.
6:30 GMT, BST, wherever we are, ST, whatever T we're on right now. UK time, 6:30. Do not forget that early Friday deadline. Now, we are on Game Week 34. It's our points predictor video for Game Week 34. So, as usual, we'll be talking about over 10% picks, the top picks, if you like. One of us will have those. I think that's you this week.
That's me this week.
Whereas I'll be taking the under 10% differentials. But we have some catching up to do before we get into Game Week 34 because we haven't recapped 32 and 33, have we? So,
correct.
What are the standings? How are we looking?
So, yeah, Lee's right. So, going into Game Week 32, it was 12-6 to me because you had won Game Week 31's points prediction. So, heading into 32, which was a long game week
just
because
a sec.
of the double.
If you win these two, is it done? Mathematically done.
What is their points predict? There's 6 between us at the moment.
If it was 14-6, it'd be done, wouldn't it?
17.
Yes. So if you win these two, I'm done. My goose is cooked. How did we get on?
Right. So remind yourselves back to Game Week 32.
This was
the Spurs double game week.
Right. Okay. Fine.
So I had the overs that week. You had the unders that week. I had Trent.
Right.
Who got a nice 8-point haul.
It's not a good start.
I had Jesse Lingard, who had a 7-point haul.
When did Jesse Lingard ever not have a haul?
Well, that's true. And I also had Harry Kane, who got 12 points.
Oh, God.
So 27.
I'm not beating that, am I? Start.
So you had Reguilon,
yeah.
whatever, who got 5 points. You had Rashford, who got 7 points.
Mm-hmm.
And then you had Lacazette, who got injured.
Lacazette.
So you were actually on for a good score as well until Lacazette got injured. So 14 for you. So that made it 13-6.
I think that means it's already over, but go on, what's the next one?
So then we went into Game Week 33. That's the game week we've obviously just played.
The blank Game Week 33, right?
Trent.
Yeah.
2.
This was me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bruno.
Trent, last minute Trent. Could you not have held on for a second more?
I think he was getting bonus points as well before that happened.
Don't even start.
Bruno.
Doing Bruno things right now.
3.
Yeah.
And then...
Oh, go on.
You had Nacho.
Hey!
Nacho with his 12-point hole, so 17
King
for you.
Kelechi on absolute fire right now.
Yeah.
Captaincy option for this game week in Nacho.
What, for 34?
Yeah, for this game week.
No, there's a standout captain pick
for
this week.
Come on, he's on such good form.
There's
Go
a
on, finish
standout
this up.
I had Lewis Dunk.
Right.
Where was the clean sheet? Brighton.
I doubled Brighton defence, didn't I?
I mean, honestly.
Nightmare.
2. Madison, what happened to you in this points haul?
Still coming back from injury, but yeah, okay.
2, and I took a risk. I did take a risk this week, and I went Cavani, who didn't start and came off for a 1-pointer, so 5 for me over the course of the game week. So that means it's 13-7. So mathematically, it is not yet done, Mr. Bonfield.
It is, isn't it? We've got 5 game weeks left.
We've got 5 to go, so you can still pull it level, can't you?
13-7. No, 6. You're 6 ahead. Well, congratulations.
Hurrah!
You win. That's the end of the video, folks. Thanks for joining us here.
We're going for pride now. Let's see
I've got pride to play for. To be honest, that result has been long overdue. I've been behind for most of the season. But, well, congratulations on winning this season's Fantasy Football Scout points prediction
I hadn't even worked out that I'd won it. I did the maths, but not the maths of the actual...
All I've got to do now is make up about 30 points in actual FPL, and then I can beat you in that. But... recent form suggests that's not going to happen.
It's more than 30 now because I had Castagna this game.
Oh, goodness me. Enough of the waffle. Game week 34. Let's get to our picks. And my first over 10% pick is Stuart Dallas.
My first over 10%
Have you got the overs?
I've got the overs. Stop trying to poach my picks.
There's me thinking I got Dallas. What a result.
No, you have not. Dallas is mine.
Who have I got? I'll look in a minute.
You can look in a minute. I picked Dallas because he's got returns in 2 of his last 3 Premier League matches.
Yeah.
At a time when you wouldn't have expected to have returns in his Premier League matches because obviously he got a 17-point masterclass against Manchester City where nearly everyone, myself included, had benched him or sold him, yourself included,
absolutely,
as part of wildcards. Then nothing against Liverpool and then goes back again in Game Week 33 and gets a clean sheet against Manchester United. Now, I've got a bit of a Dallas-shaped problem with my actual FPL team because I sold him as part of my wild card.
Sure.
And now I'm thinking,
you want him back, right?
What was wrong with you? What were you thinking? I think
I
I want him back. So might be a really boring transfer going into this week and bringing him back because all season we've talked about how good Leeds have been going forward. It's been all about their attacking play. They're just gusto. They go for it. But what we've seen over the last couple of weeks is a better defensive unit from Leeds. We've seen an improvement in the way that they're defending.
What do you put that down to? Is that Bielsa saying, we're not getting relegated, we're not going to get Europe, let's use the rest of the season to try and improve our defensive numbers? Is he trying something here?
I mean, he might be, but I think a lot of it's potentially down to Rafinha's injury and the fact that Bamford's a bit off colour and he's not exactly been performing at his best the last few weeks. So their attacking players have been less productive because they're either injured or just haven't really been firing. And as a result of that, the defence has kind of maybe come into its own a bit more because they've not been able to play with the same level of speed and pace going forward, potentially. But what we have seen from Dallas, and he had a few shots against Manchester United, that he is still attacking. He's still playing in those advanced positions. And I think he makes a really nice pick, and he's one that I am sort of looking longingly at, thinking, my goodness, I need him back in my FPL team.
You want him back? Well, certainly there has been an improvement in Leeds defensively. I've got to give a shout out at this point to our fellow pro pundit Late Riser and the boys over at the FPL Wire. If you get a chance, go check out their YouTube channel. Bakar put up some amazing stats on the Wire this week about how Leeds have improved defensively in the last 8 game weeks. For example, the average XGC, their average expected goals conceded, has gone down per game from 1.7 to 1.25 in the last 8 weeks. And the big chances that they've conceded has halved from 2.6 per game to 1.3 per game. So not only are you going to get that continued attacking threat, as you just suggested from Dallas, but they look as if he's going to pick up the bonus points as well. I call bonus points the almost bonus 4 points that you're going to get for a clean sheet. And if he gets that, of course, then there's actual bonus points on top of that. So Leeds fixtures, if you look at the fixture difficulty rating on the right-hand side of the screen on the Fantasy Football Scout main page and sort by difficulty, Leeds are right up there. So yes, I really like Dallas as a pick.
Yeah, you tried to steal him.
I thought he was mine, and I was quite happy to have him. But instead, I'll have
my actual defender.
Your actual defender, who you have in FPL, but I don't, and that's Timothy Castagna. Now, I hope that he continues to play down the right-hand side. I have a bit of a concern that if Pereira does come back into that Leicester side, Castagna goes left, which I think he does a fine job there, but I think he's way better on the right-hand side. He's far less effective when he's left. If he continues on the right-hand side, and we saw it against Crystal Palace, where Crystal Palace, to be honest, just didn't get close enough to him. But when that back three with Leicester and they leave Castagna and somebody else wide left as well, he is free to roam. And he bombed forward like you wouldn't believe in that game. And, of course, got the goal for his owners. So I really like Timothy Castagna. Certainly Leicester's next couple of games, they have this game against a pretty leaky-looking Southampton. And I think the fact that they go away to St Mary's, I don't put too much credit into this whole home and away thing at the moment in FPL, and they are better away from home, Leicester City. Then they go home again, but to Newcastle, who potentially after getting a point at Anfield are kind of safe and on the beach. So for the next 2 weeks, Castagna looks a good pick. The fixtures get a bit more difficult after that, but Leicester still have something to play for. I think he's a great pick.
Yeah, I mean, I love him. I picked him as part of my wild card in replacement for Diaz at Manchester City on the basis of guaranteed minutes in a way that you can't necessarily get from Diaz. Touch wood anyway that he gets guaranteed
or anyone
minutes.
At City right now.
Or
so
anybody,
difficult, isn't it?
Of course. But also because of the attacking prowess that he offers, which we saw immediately against Crystal Palace. And actually, that Crystal Palace game, had they not conceded, he would have been on for a monster haul with a clean sheet and a goal.
Absolutely.
And there would have undoubtedly been bonus points as well. So I think he makes a really nice pick. Southampton, as you say, they're really lacking at the moment. I think that the loss in the FA Cup and followed by the loss to Spurs straight after that in midweek, it's really put a downer on them. Now, they have had time. They've had time off because obviously they didn't play at the weekend. So let's see how they are. But I suspect that we'll see a great performance from Leicester, and Castagna, I think, makes a really nice option.
Nice, all right. Well, Timothy Castagna, if you want to pair him up with Fox's legend Kelechi Iheanacho right now, then no one is going to put you off of that whatsoever. Let's move to the midfield. Chelsea doing the business, frankly. I was going to say at the Bernabeu, but it's not, is it? At the
training ground.
At the Real Madrid training ground, which I still can't get my head around, but nevertheless.
It's a super impressive training ground pitch, though, isn't it?
You'd hope so at Real Madrid, wouldn't you, quite frankly? The training pitch puts most, EPL pitches to shame, doesn't it? But anyway, Mason Mount, 19.9% owned. Not as explosive as perhaps his owners might want in FPL, but just keeps ticking over those points and delivering from set pieces, etc. So feels like a bit of a safe pick there, Sam.
I mean,
you're backing him.
I've already won, so
oh God!
I didn't know I'd won.
Don't you start
to
with
be
that.
fair, I didn't know I'd won when I picked him.
I don't care. Pick who you want. I've won.
I really like Mount as a pick. I really think that he has blossomed this season. And when Tuchel arrived, we've said this a couple of times on these videos. We were a bit concerned about what might happen with Mason Mount.
Yeah,
but he has really flourished. And obviously we're recording this on Wednesday evening while the Manchester City Champions League game is on. But we know that Mount made it through, so it's not risky in terms of, having a European fixture to play. It is a little bit risky in terms of could there be some Chelsea rotation around this Fulham game?
Possibly.
Because, of course, they have the second round of that Real Madrid game next Wednesday evening, so there could be potential there. But let's be honest, Chelsea need to keep winning their league games if they want guaranteed Champions League football next season, because
I think they're pretty much there.
That top four, mathematically, it's not done yet.
Yeah, sure.
And
okay,
so
fair enough.
I think with, when we talk about rotation at Man City, it's because they pretty much nailed it, the Premier League now. But for Chelsea, they do need to win a couple more games, I think, or at least get points from a couple more games. So I suspect we'll see a pretty much full-strength team from Tuchel. And I think that Mount he's just a brilliant pick at Chelsea. I really like him. Pulisic obviously is starting to get into that end of season, I'm back reign. But it's been consistent with Mount, consistently ticks over the points week in, week out. So if you're looking for a Chelsea midfielder in terms of minutes and as far as you can be certainty of points, I think Mount offers that more so than the others do.
Okay, all right. Well, still, I say only 7.3, starting to get a bit more expensive, isn't he? Probably going to be more expensive next season in FPL. But still only 7.3, so should fit within budgets if you want to pick him, if you haven't got him yet. But 19.9% owned is on the rise, no doubt. Let's move to 3% owned, Gareth Bale. Gareth Bale, this is I've lost, so I'm going to pick Gareth Bale pick. This is a pure fixture pick. I haven't got any stats about Gareth Bale because, frankly, he hasn't been playing. So, but this is the sort of game, given that he didn't play in the Cup, this has got to be the sort of game, surely, where Ryan Mason thinks, okay, well, let's just go out. Spurs have to attack these last few games, don't they? If they're going to salvage anything out of this season, and there's a pretty good chance that all that's salvageable is a Europa Cup spot for next season. But even that, I think, would represent reasonable success at this stage for Spurs. And if they're going to get that, they've got to get something out of these remaining fixtures, which look pretty good. These are all fixtures where Spurs, I think, should set up to attack. And in a game like this, where, frankly, you would expect Spurs to win this relatively easily at home to Sheffield United, despite the fact Sheffield United just kept a clean sheet and beaten Brighton, I still think he's got to play Son and Kane and Bale. He's got to roll out the triumvirate up top. And Bale, at 3% owned, I think is a reasonable differential. What are we saying? Would you get him over Son this week, for example, if you were bringing one of them in?
I would, yeah.
You would?
Yeah.
God, goodness me. See, I would still be on Son, I think. I would still be Son, but I'm picking the differentials, so I'm going with Gareth.
As a straight choice in my FPL team, if I bring back one of my Spurs midfielders, it'll be Bale over Son. I think my concern with Son is that he's looked really off it for the last few weeks.
It's knackered.
And
absolutely
he looks knackered. And Kane's back, so could he just play Kane and Bale and Mora and let Son have a bit of a rest in this Sheffield United game? Absolutely, I think he potentially could, because he was broken at the end of that cup final, Son, in a way that, and it was Bale actually that was consoling him. Look, Bale has tended to play against the lower opposition, and he exploits their weaknesses in a way that he can't necessarily do against the likes of Manchester City or the very, very fast-paced teams.
He's not going to be required to do much tracking back against Sheffield United, which is one of the keys, right? Whenever he's played well against the likes of Burnley and Crystal Palace, especially that Palace game, there was no real requirement for him to do some defending. And that's what I think means he misses out a lot of the time. Is in the Premier League, very different to any other league. If you are playing in those wide forward positions, you are expected to help your fullback on that side.
Play your part.
And he just doesn't, right? Whereas against Sheffield United, coupled with the fact that Sheffield United still statistically the world's worst defence, the Premier League, the Premier League's worst defence, up against what on paper should be a very potent strike force, he's got to be a decent differential.
I think so. I think it's the perfect fixture for Gareth Bale.
All right. Well, if it's the perfect fixture for Gareth Bale, it's the perfect fixture for. Oh, you've picked Harry Kane again. What a surprise! Harry Kane coming in.
Look, I mean, I'm not being funny, but as you've just said, they're the Premier League's worst defence. Who else are you going to pick as your premium forward option?
I said on the Fantasy Premier League podcast, you get a chance to listen to that this week, guys. The official podcast. You've got arguably the best striker in the league up against statistically the worst defence.
It's arguably about it.
He's arguably the best striker in the league.
He is the best striker in the league.
Up against statistically the worst defence. It feels like a week where you shouldn't overthink the captaincy, in my opinion.
No. Well, who else are you going to give it to?
I think you could go to Iheanacho quite easily.
Well, give him the vice.
Well, Iheanacho's form. I mean, he's playing a leaky Southampton defence. We just spoke about Leicester when we spoke about Castagna there. You've got to... Iheanacho for sure comes into the conversation, but...
He comes into the conversation to say, here's the vice-captain's armband. Thank you, Nacho.
It's not as cut and dry as
that. Here you go, Harry, here's the armband.
Guys, get in the comments below. Is it as cut and dry as Kane captain this week, full stop, as Sam is suggesting, or are there others in the conversation? If you are captain Iheanacho this week, we want to know in the comments, because I think, personally, he is far more in the conversation than you're giving him credit for, honestly.
Then you captain him. 2 double-digit hauls in the last 3 game weeks for Kane.
That's nothing. Kelechi's got 3 or 4, isn't he?
Returns in 3 of the last 4
game
weeks.
Kelechi's got that.
And the only time he didn't return was when he went off injured. So look, I think for me, you just take him. You love him. You count the points that he's undoubtedly going to provide against this Sheffield United defence.
Over the last 4 game weeks, non-penalty XG amongst all players in the game, he is top 3.24 in the last 4.
And that is why you give him the armband.
That is probably why you give him the armband, no doubt. So no more chat on Harry Kane, because it is an obvious pick for this week. I'm going to go for the man, the myth, the legend.
Right, there's no
Chris
way.
Wood.
Right, I'm sorry, but there's no way that Chris Wood gets another first half hat-trick with an assist.
What are we saying about Chris Wood? Are we saying... you've missed the boat if you get him? Or are we saying, actually, the Burnley fixtures don't look too bad? He was actually in reasonable form before the haul.
To be fair, he was, yeah.
Which he was. That's something I think a lot of us missed, right?
He was ticking over before.
He was ticking over at single-digit, not calling them hauls because they're single digits, but 7, 8, 9 points. So his owners that got that haul last week, he's 2.6 now, but all 2% of his ownership that got the haul... We're all saying, listen, he's been showing signs of getting something, and Wolves' defence was showing signs of being absolute rubbish and on the beach, which I think is going to continue. They are a team that you should focus on picking players that are playing against Wolves, in my opinion, going forward. But certainly for this week, listen, I think Burnley at home to a West Ham team who defensively are struggling a little bit at the moment without Rice. Creswell could be back 50-50, we're not sure. Seem to have a defender sent off every week, so there's, some sort of...
Although Balbuena got his red card rescinded, so he can play.
That is true, so Balbuena is back, and is Dawson back as well? I think he possibly is, so...
Could be, I can't remember how many matches he's missed now.
I think he's back, so could be a good battle, that, actually, between Dawson and Wood. But I'm here for it. I'm up for watching that physical battle, and I think Chris Wood will relish that in the same way that Dawson will. So I'm backing him, and his 6.3 million of him to go on a little run between now and the end of the season. What are we saying, Chris Wood? Have we missed the boat?
It depends what you want, doesn't it? Look, if you want a nice...
If you want FPL points, Sam, you get him.
Maybe.
In that chart that I mentioned before, top 5 for non-penalty XG. Kane, as I mentioned before, first. Salah second with 2.79. Chris Wood in at number 3 with 2.54. Now, of course, the Wolves game skews that somewhat, but the underlying stats suggest he's banging form.
Yeah, and he is. He is. I just can't get excited about Chris Wood.
He's a really unsexy pick, but my God, is he hauling for his owners right now? He's doing well.
He
Can't
is.
ignore him.
I mean, if he comes out and outscores Harry Kane and wins you this point, then I'll have to apologise to him, won't I?
It could happen. Guys, get in the comments below. Let us know. Are you bringing in Chris Wood this week? I personally am not, because
are you?
I've got his partner in crime. I've got Vidra, actually.
You've got the wrong one.
I've got the wrong guy, but he is a lot cheaper. There's no doubt about it. But there are a number of you that are bringing in Chris Wood this week. And if you are, let us know in the comments below. We'd love to hear what you think he's going to score this game week. So there we go. Game week 34's point predictions in the bag. Are you hashtag Team Lee or hashtag Team Sam in the comments? Here's a hint. You're hashtag Team Sam because she's already won for this year's points prediction. So congratulations, Sam. Well done. Pride to play for now between now and the end of the season here on the FPL Family points prediction videos. Leave us a like before you go. Give Sam a like just because she's won for this year. Give her a like. And obviously hit that subscribe button if you're new to the Fantasy Football Scout channel. We will see you this time next week for all the results from Game Week 34 and a look ahead to Game Week 35. Cheers, guys.